Footy Furnace, proudly presented by PointsBet's new Pull'em for AFL. What's gambling really costing you?
Hello and welcome to Footy Furnace. My name's Jules Vallance, joined by two of the greatest to ever play the game. Essendon legend starting off, James Hirdy. How are you, Hirdy?
Thanks, Jules. Yeah, great to be here. Looking forward to a big show.
And Geelong superstar, Jimmy Bartel. How you going, Jim?
Good, Jules. Great to have you.
All right, boys, let's get straight into this opening round. Third year that we've gone into opening round. What can we do different? How did you go?
I just love to play more games. I think the Monday, the fact we didn't have a game was probably a miss by the AFL, but the quality game on the Saturday night was exceptional, and the game on the Collingwood St Kilda game was good. I thought the first two sort of blew out a bit, but yeah, I'd love to see a bit more footy.
I think the way we sell it can be bigger, bolder, braver, and I know I'm a big picture person and I like the big ideas of the game. So what I'd suggest is make it like finals week, or make it like gather round, because when we head over to Adelaide for gather round, the whole place is activated. So if they've got games in Sydney, let's activate the harbour. If it's in Brisbane or the Gold Coast, let's activate that. And if we add games to Perth and Adelaide, and even the game St Kilda Collingwood, we had the perfect lead in, of course, with the Grand Prix. I know Eddie suggested this. If we made that game Thursday, we can actually engage the Grand Prix and take the momentum off the back of that.
Absolutely.
Tell you what, it was high scoring, I'll give you that much. 194 was the average. Compare it to the other two, 164 and 169. Don't know if it continues through the year, but there's something there that maybe there's a trend at the moment.
I think it will, particularly for the first 5 or 6 weeks. I think sides are looking at moving the ball as quickly as they can and it's scoring a lot quicker. And defence will catch up as the year goes on, but the first 5 or 6 weeks I think will be high scoring. Thursday
night, MCG, Carlton versus Richmond. Look, what's Richmond's best chances to open this game up, I think, Hirdy, don't we think?
Absolutely, but they've still got to compete with Carlton in the contest. I mean, we've been very well documented by Sam Dock in his comments that if you compete with Carlton in the contest, you can get them. But yeah, if you can open the ground up and expose their defence and the way they move the ball, I still don't think Carlton have the physical capacity to go with some of the better teams in the competition when they get the ball on the outside. The forward handballs of the Swans really broke Carlton down, and if Richmond want to win this game, I think they've got to be very daring once the ball leaves the contest.
Yeah, it's work rate. You've got to be up for the work. Errol Gordon will focus on actually this double kick here that he gets from the kick in and the next one, but it was the work rate of all his teammates, as we say, Hirdy, to make the ground really big. So you make it wide, and what you're doing is you're asking Carlton in this case, do you want to block the middle? And if you block the middle, we'll go around you and we'll take the free ones. But if you go with your direct opponents, lots of gaps open up for you. But we call it the steak and the sizzle, which you're touching on there as well, Hirdy. If they take care of the contest really well, so when Richmond had wins last year, if they were to go back and watch the footage, it's the next Tigers player in, but then add the sizzle, which forward handball, get your shoulders facing goal and things will open up.
And don't be afraid to make mistakes. I think you just got to take the game on and not be afraid to make mistakes. And I think Carlton have been very harshly dealt with this week because they played a team in Sydney. They went around their new game style. Voss has to open the game up to try and do something different. But they played against one of the best teams in the competition with the ball movement. They're not going to get that this week. I think Richmond aren't as good as Sydney with the ball. So if I was Michael, I'd continue to try and expand the game and try and get the ball moving quicker.
The numbers around the Tigers in 2025, boys, like how can they get that to, be competitive here in 2026?
Well, I think we started to touch on it there. It comes back to your training, it's your education, it's what you highlight in team meetings. And, when you pause the tape, which I touched on, you want to see more Richmond jumpers in that frame. And what that speaks to is, yes, we're showing up and we're outnumbering, but then the layers off the back of that. You just don't all recklessly, get close to the ball. It's how do we create a bit of balance in the stoppage, which then we're in a good place to defend, but we're in an excellent place to attack off the back of that.
I think it's the defensive side of things too. If you look at those numbers, the ones that would worry me as a coach, the tackle differential and pressure applied, they're things that every player can do. If you've got the capacity, to do it. The points for as a result of what's happening with your ball movement. They're a young team, but if you can get that defensive style of your game sound, you'll stay in the game for longer.
I think it's an interesting one here when you talk about opening round teams versus teams that didn't play in opening round. You go back past the past 2 years, every team that played opening round that played a team in round one that didn't play have led to quarter time. So it'll be interesting to see if Carlton get the jump on the Tigers this week to continue that trend and make it 9 out of 9.
Which they did last year, and we all know what happened after half-time when the Tigers came back. But it was, I think you just get match hardened, don't you, in that game that other sides haven't played.
I still remember the first quarter, about 10 minutes into the first game, you've done this 3 months, let's just call it a pre-season. You've done intra-clubs, you've done practice games. I think it's been Wizard Cup, NAB Cup, all those. But the first 10 minutes of the first round, you go, oh, I haven't done a single thing. You actually feel like the unfittest person on the planet. So it does take a little while to adjust.
Who wins and why, Hirdy?
I think Carlton win. I think Richmond is still a very young team. They don't quite have the experience to match it with Carlton. I'd really like to see Carlton keep their daring style of football and score 100 points, because if they do, I think they'll win this game.
A little bit of nervous tension for the Blues, but I got Carlton winning by 15 points.
Okay, it's an interesting one. You talk about 100 plus Carlton. Last year, they only scored 90 plus 5 times. The Tigers hit it twice. Just don't know if it's going to be a high-scoring game. It's going to be really interesting at the G Thursday.
Perhaps not, but you can see Michael Voss and his game plan being more expansive. And this is, if there's a week you can test it against a team like Richmond who's young, you've got to test it and you've got to go with your game plan you've been practicing all summer.
Beautiful. That was Thursday night. Let's get to Friday night, MCG. It's Essendon, your old mob, Hirdy, versus the Hawks. Look, last week, the Hawks, where did they get it all wrong, to be honest, against an undermanned GWS?
Well, there's 3 phases of the game. If you go back to the old style of football, there's the contest, there's defence, and there's the offence and how you move the ball. Hawthorn only wanted to play one mode of game, and that was offence. They wanted to use their ball movement to win the game. They forgot about the contest. They didn't defend the ground, and that doesn't win you many games of football. I can't imagine Sam Mitchell being happy with the way his team played on the weekend. It'll be a tough week on the track. He'll be challenging them to be more daring and also to play all 3 phases of the game. And I can't see Essendon getting close to Hawthorn. If Hawthorn play well in the contest, they lift their contest numbers up and they lift their defence numbers up.
Yeah, first possession in particular, and Clayton Oliver is a superstar of that. We saw the best of Clayton Oliver, and Steve Coniglio was another one who really jumped off the page, and Finn Callaghan in that edit there was in doubt, for this game. But their ability to get hands on the footy first, Giants set them up really well, and these weren't pretty, but they were able to take the territory and then come up in off the back of that as well. So you touched on it there, Hirdy, was you can't get into attack if the opposition's taking territory off you. And so the Giants just played a very, call it simplistic game, which is take territory, come in off the back of it. And so they've got to be better in first possession, which means you've got to get to the stoppage really early. I know they get the ball up quick. Establish where you need to be. Where are your exit points? Where's my direct opponent? And at times, if they win 3 or 4 in a row, that means get on the back shoulder, force them in, and just be willing to accept we're not going to have the pretty play, but we just might have to go to work for a bit.
Yeah, and centre clearances. I mean, centre clearance is such an important part of the game now, and the GWS just seem to, every time, to dominate that area, particularly early. They've got to get that right. But I think they'll be wound up, the Hawks, and the Bombers, they're a high possession team. The Bombers, they love to possess. They possessed the ball a lot last year, but not without going forward. I would think that they want to possess the ball, but get metres gained in that possession so that they're taking the ball off the Hawks. They don't give them the time with the ball. But there's no point possessing it in your back half the whole day. Yeah,
conceding 122 points, Jules. And when look back at the footage, yes, players had some bad days, but it was like they weren't communicating. Yeah. And I think that'd be the frustrating thing for the Hawthorn coaches. You know, the behind the goals footage is the worst if you're a player, because you cannot hide anywhere. Yeah. When the coach flicks that on, you're trying to hide. I didn't have
when I played, thank God.
Yeah. When they came in, you were trying to hide somewhere because you cannot slack off. But the communication, so what they were allowing was, call it the unsexy mark, so it might be just 15, 20 metres, and we've played this edit on Footy Furnace on Sunday night. It was a little 15-metre kick up the line to a player like Harvey Thomas. Now, we might go, that's not much. But what it did was, Bartel and Barras had actually set their distance of 60 metres from the original kick.
Yeah.
Now, the 15-metre kick, all of a sudden they're out of position. They're too short, which means Stringer gets in behind or Hogan. So they need attention to detail with their defensive group. So you don't give up that, which means Barras and Bartel or Sicily, whoever else it might be, they can go play their number one role, which is taking the footy off the opposition.
And that's Essendon's chance. If they can actually take the ball off the Hawks, keep the Hawks out of possession, but kick their way up the ground and relax defence. I just can't see Hawthorn being as poor as they were last week with the coaching style of Sam Mitchell. He doesn't seem to tolerate fools or non-performance too much.
It's a good, actually, attitude to have, not tolerate fools, Hirdy. In saying that, Hawks, they beat the Bombers, you think?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's a 5-goal win to the Hawks, as much as that hurts me to say.
Yeah, I've got pretty similar. Hawks by about 20 points.
All right, let's look at the new rules here, guys. So we've had 1 week of it, opening round. Wasn't a big sample size. What do we want to do here with the rules? Do we give them a tick?
I've given them a tick so far. I don't have any complaints with them. I think the stat that jumped off the page to me was the ability for sides to transition from D50 to forward 50 because boundary throw-ins and then, of course, the strict stand rule doesn't allow you to get your defence up in play.
Yep.
But what it might do, it might actually expose the gaps in teams. I think we've clearly highlighted there's a really good group of, let's call it 5 or 6 teams, and there's 5 or 6 teams who are just in a complete different position regarding where they are on the premiership clock. When the game opens up, I think that margin will increase because, we'll use Sydney again. Quality of ball users will actually expose that.
Yeah, 2 things about stand. Well, it's technical and it frustrates us sometimes when it's not done right by the player or the umpire gets it slightly wrong. It's essential for the speed of ball movement. You're seeing players taking the mark, actually running at the man on the mark and then veering and giving that forward handball, which gets the player into space, turns the opposition backline around and creates those pockets of space. But to your point around the great kicking teams and the ones that take their time, you watch the Lions and the way they move the ball and just test the opposition. We're going to get it through as long as we'll just wait for a sleepy defender or a sleepy person in the zone just to fall asleep, bang, there it goes. Change the angle and move it down. You're right, 5 or 6 teams that do it well, and at the other end, there's 5 or 6 teams that aren't able to do it, whether it's skill level, whether it's patience, or whether it's the way they're set up. That'll be the big difference to me, the way the ball movement happens this year.
Also noticed that this didn't seem to be a lot of time to rest a little bit because there was only 22 ball ups through opening round in average compared to I think it was around 34, 35 last year. So if that continues, again, fatigue's going to set in, you're on the ground for longer, I think the better teams will come to the front.
Again, going back to the Blues, I just thought after half time, their physical capacity to run with the Swans, whether it's because they didn't have possession of the ball enough, but they seemed gassed at certain times and unable to defend the ground because of physical capability.
Yeah. Let's get to the Pies versus Adelaide, boys. MCG Saturday night. Hirdy, I want to bring this up because outrageous from you last week. You said Perryman would go to Naz.
Yes.
He did the job on him. Does he go to Dawson this week or can you not crack an egg twice?
No, I wouldn't. I think they're a different sort of player and I think that Naz has a bigger effect on the Saints than Dawson does on Adelaide. Not saying Dawson's not an amazing player and excellent as skipper, but I just think that you go back to your normal stock standard and if he gets off the chain, you maybe look at it. But look, it was terrific coaching by Craig McRae, not only with the Harry Perryman, the way he looked after Naz, but it was also, Pendlebury, De Goey. I thought Collingwood were ahead of the game on the weekend. But in saying that, the Saints didn't do a lot wrong. It was their connection up forward, which cost them the game. But look, Collingwood, with their experienced players, I think will be good in the first half of the year, whether they're able to sustain it. So I think it's be a really great game, particularly what happened in the final. Was it the first final last year? Where
absolutely.
They
went over there and got them.
Got them.
Kept it a low-scoring game. But I'll get to you, Jimmy, about how they used Pendlebury and even probably De Goey in the second quarter. This could be just with this 5 on the bench, could be something.
Yeah, well, because the rotations stay the same. So now that you've got the extra on the bench, there's going to either be one player who plays significant less than we're used to, or it's going to be sort of 3 players play down around about 70%. Now, if you've got guys who can have high impact and that then come on the field and they don't need to work their way into the game, and Scott Pendlebury is a champion of the game. He can play anywhere, anytime, in a phone box or out in a paddock. So he is ideal for this. And he came onto the ground, saw everything going on, and was able to set players up. 5 goal assists. Other sides will probably look at that and think, how can we use the type of player that can have the benefit of just still playing 50 to 60% time? Because some guys still need game time.
If someone said you can play 50 minutes, Jim, you'd still be playing.
Mid-season draft, I'm signing up here. If you need someone...
Just put me forward, deep forward, give me 40 minutes, away we go. A couple of times up around the ball.
I'll do my sales pitch. I'm not getting above a walk. I don't do team meetings on Monday.
And no ice bars.
No, ice bars, that's for the drinks that you put in for later.
Absolutely. Hey, they're 2 different styles, you think, the Adelaide and Collingwood here. Adelaide need to try and get it on their terms and make it a bit of a shootout. Yeah. But every time we've seen these, considering also the qualifying final, it became very much a battle on Collingwood's terms. They got it on their style. I think only 140 or 150 scored probably in their last few games. How can Adelaide get it on their style?
Well, obviously need to be strong around the contest, but as soon as they win the ball, whether it's at half-back, whether it's a wing, is try and get the ball out to the open side. Try and take the short 45, try and shape it through the middle. So, Collingwood are Very, very great. They've been a great team. They're a good team now, and they're well coached. They're well set up behind the ball. But you've got to try and go around their spare. You've got to try and move the ball quickly so they don't get set when you have the ball. And if you're kicking the ball up and down the line and staying skinny against Collingwood, that's what they love.
This might sound like the most boring part on the ground, the junction, as it's been called. So the game, if you focus on where it's 50 metres meets the boundary line, that is really important for either side here. So what Collingwood do really well, and this is why we see the likes of Schultz or it's McCreary, they've always got that player on the opposite side of the ground, on the junction, and they've always got one on the skinny side. So you often see Collingwood players under pressure. If I just turn that way, there should be someone there. And if they're not, they're probably getting pulled up in the team meeting. Adelaide need to restrict that, which means then they get the game in the front half. But remember, all Adelaide's forwards like to get dangerous. So they need the wings getting up really high. And Collingwood do the same on the flip side, is if they get the ball in the front half, you think back to the Adelaide Oval. Once Collingwood got it in the forward 50, that's okay because it's away from the Crows' dynamic forward line. And that's where Darcy Cameron and Darcy Moore come up the ground and they just set up the big wall. So it sounds really odd for a place to focus on the ground, but the junction is pretty important part of ground in this game in particular.
Who wins? Because I think this is a really tricky game. Market suggests that. There's not much between these two teams. Who wins, Hirdy?
I'm going to go Adelaide, just because I just think that they're just a better team, but I wouldn't be surprised if Collingwood win, but small margin.
Still no Rankin, which would have made it a marketing dream. I'm going to go the Pies at the MCG in a really close one. They've played some extraordinary games at the G. There's always been a controversial finish right in front of me. Is famous for this game.
I think the last few, have been under 10 points at the MCG. So Adelaide can get there, but I think they've got to try and get over them this week. Sydney versus Brisbane, Saturday night as well. So interesting matchup from a scheduling point of view. Lions up against it a little bit. They've missed 4. McCluggage with his calf and then those 3 boys that get suspended. Makes it tough, doesn't it?
And Harris Andrews is just a huge out. I think that's a massive out. I think as much as Tom Stewart was missing the grand final for Geelong, I think Harris Andrews is equal a miss. He sets up the ground. He can defend, he can attack. And for that reason, I'm going to go the Swans. I probably wouldn't have gone the Swans if Brisbane had their full contingent in, but I think the Swans had a sloppy first half. They, again, just wanted to play ball movement. They were fumbly. They weren't quite in the game. But after half-time, that was a massive effort. And they're going to have to defend a lot better as well than they did against Carlton. Brisbane moved the ball so well and hard to beat. But can Brisbane defend the Sydney ball movement? I'm not so sure.
And you mentioned a little bit earlier, when you're referencing Carlton, the Swans' ability to get that forward handball. Do you still think they play that mode against the Lions?
I think so. I think the Swans have been practising their handball game all summer. I think it's been a big part of their pre-season to move the ball by hand. And you can see here, forward handballs, angled handballs, change the angle, not putting it in long to an outnumbered forward line and actually making the Brisbane Lions defend, because the Lions, as good as they are, still want to sag off. They still have their defenders who want to be the +1 and win some of the ball. Dane Zorko, I don't think he knows who his man is the best of days, and he's a fantastic player. But if you can make him defend and make him accountable, it's that forward handball does that.
The interesting thing here is, Jimmy, they're very methodical, Brisbane, but they're still a high-scoring team. Yeah. How do they do it?
Well, it's a sign of their maturity. So you often tell players, once you've got the ball in the hand, you control the game. So there's 100,000 people watching and there's everyone on the field. You actually get to control the tempo or the speed of the game. So where young players fall into the trap is when we're in fast possession, they either slow it down, or when we're in slow possession, they go too quick. But then you can also dictate how the game is going. What Brisbane, because they're such a mature side and they know each other really well, and it was noticeable against Brisbane, is against the Bulldogs, the Bulldogs were coming at them. So in their back half, they just took wherever the free one was. We just play a bit of kick mark, and then you're forcing the Bulldogs. It means someone either's got to come up and man the mark, or they've got to roll across. If you can shift them a couple of times, that's another 150-metre sprint that the defender has to do across the ground. But it's clear once they get to the logos, the Toyota logos or the front half, that's then play footy. So we can be slow, but as soon as we get to that launch point, they go really quick, and it brings all those mid-sized forwards into play because they don't want to go slow and just bomb it on their head. But once they get to that point, they've stretched you in defence, and they're almost asking, as we were saying before, do you want to defend the inside or do you want to defend everybody? And we'll find a gap eventually with some dopey one who's asleep.
It's a method to their madness. As you say, Jim, they know that at a point they're going to go fast. We're just lulling you into a false sense of defend. Oh, we've got one here, bang, and over the top they go.
Jimmy, your go big prediction thanks to Hyundai.
He's gone for Hail Mary! Hallelujah!
Well, the man who's going to go big for Hyundai, yes, fellas, I've gone out on the furthest of limbs here. Charlie Curnow. He's going to kick 5+. I felt like there was a fair bit of nervous tension, of course, playing his old side. First game, Swans colours. Game 150, but we've touched on no Andrews, no Gardner, still no Payne as well.
Who plays on him?
I think it might be Leicester. He plays above his height. We've seen him play on the likes of Jeremy Cameron, so he's got the nous, the athleticism to keep up with those types, those roaming forwards. But I still think 5 goals. He didn't play the best of game for his standards and still kicked 3 last week.
Yeah, and he looked nervous, but I think you're right. He'll have a huge game.
I think this is the popcorn game for the round, to be honest. I think it's going to be a high-scoring ground. So it's a high-scoring match. I think if you're looking at it and you go, which game do I really want to watch? This is the one. I think they'll both be aggressive with the ball. SCG will get back to a high-scoring ground like it was at 2024 when the Swans were at their best. Who wins, Hirdy?
Swans for me.
Yeah, Swans by a couple of goals.
All right, plenty more to come, including the Bulldogs versus GWS.
Footy Furnace, brought to you by Hyundai. Get a deal you'll be proud of at Hyundai. Fiji Airways. Sun, sea, smiles. Fiji awaits. And Brady Hotels and Apartments. Melbourne CBD accommodation just minutes from Marvel Stadium and the MCG.
Righto, boys. Marvel Stadium. It's the Dogs versus GWS. How do we want to attack this game, boys?
Well, I think it's a huge rivalry for a start. I mean, it goes all the way back to the finals of back in the 2016, wasn't it?
Yeah.
When that final happened. There's still a lot of players playing on both teams that have that memory, but this will be a game, I think it'll be a high-scoring game as well in terms of you watch the way both teams attack. Both teams don't set up behind the ball as well as they probably should. And I think, the way the Bulldogs play, they'll be hard to beat at Marvel Stadium. Yeah,
under the lid, the ball can zip up and down pretty quickly. And these are 2 teams we identified last week. It's not necessarily their back group. It's actually the way they swap over from attacking with the footy to defending as a team unit. And so, it could be up and back, which then highlights the importance of Tim English and Kieran Briggs. But this is the Giants, and we just spoke about maturity, when you've got the ball. So Laverty just takes long to the contest, but the next number is showing up at GWS Giants, and then their ability to actually have speed. They talk about it as the tsunami, but when they're doing the tsunami well, it's tsunami to win the ball. So you bring the numbers in before you get out. I think sometimes when the Giants get caught out is everyone gets forward side of the footy, and then when the opposition turns it over, that's what was their issue last year. It was your turn, our turn, your turn, our turn, and hopefully we just kick a bigger score.
Yeah, no.
Dogs' defence stood up last week. Now, they conceded 100+, but the Lions had 13+ more inside 50s, and it's always been probably seen as a weakness to them, is their defence. Where do they sit with that defence, Hirdy?
I think it's definitely got better. It's been a focus of the Bulldogs over the summer in terms of, but it's also the way you move the ball too and where you lose the ball. If you lose the ball in bad spots, it doesn't matter how you set up behind the ball. So ball movement and defence are highly correlated, and also the way you set up round the contest and its stoppages. And I thought they were much better set up with a defensive ring around that stoppage compared to last year.
They've won 4 of the last 5, the Bulldogs, against GWS, toweling them up round 21 last year by 88 points. It's going to be a high-scoring game.
They'll have to be at their best, GWS. I mean, they were fantastic last week. They really were. They won those clearances, those centre stoppages. They got the ball in their forward half, and they broke a poor Hawthorn down, I thought. But I just don't see them coming up against the Bulldogs. They've got all that talent and a lot of confidence and winning this game.
They've always, go, Jimmy.
I was going to say, Harris Andrews did a good job on Sam Darcy. Darcy wasn't poor by any stretch. No. But you just got the sense that he might just monster a few this week.
Hey guys, time for the happy traveller of the week. Thanks to Fiji Airways. Guess what? They're the happiest airline in the world.
Fantastic airline, Fiji Airways, and you got to have a look at this. Happy traveller is all about who's happy this week for something that's happened within their team. And if I was Marcus Bontempelli, I would be the happiest traveller in the world because of what Ed Richards is doing. Yes. Ed Richards is killing it around the park. He's making sure he's the best player on the ground. And if you're Marcus Bontempelli, they're focusing on him, not on me. I'm the happy traveller. So, Marcus, you and I are on Fiji Airlines soon as the happy traveller.
Footy Furnace live from Fiji. We've got that marked down.
I'm in, I can tell you that much. 16 score involvements for Richard. So, he was outstanding, obviously, in that opening round. Who wins and why, guys?
I think it's the Bulldogs. Look, Geelong are a very good team. They played very, very well, but the Bulldogs are top of, right up the top echelon. I just think they've got too much talent at the moment.
Yep, the Dogs for me.
Okay, beautiful. Now, Jim, you soft launched a little bit of a new one. Value Player of the Week. What do we got this week, mate?
Never a soft launch here. So we're looking for the value player. We're not looking for the best player, but the value player. And we're going to fill out our side throughout the year in position. So once I've picked my forward pockets, well, that's it, or my back flankers. And we're going to look at the players who offered their team the best value this week, all thanks to Hirdy's favourite hotel, Brady Hotels and Apartments. So we're going to kick off our inaugural player, and who would say it'll be the rising star, a guy in his first game, makes our value player of the week, Leo Lombard. Now, this kid's got some wheels, and he's actually got a bit of aggression too. He doesn't mind getting in the face of the opposition. He's just another one off the factory line there of Gold Coast, turns inside out. But he's proactive, he's got a huge work rate. He's going to be a guy who might play some games where he might only get 12 touches because of the role he's playing. But he's going to have games where he's going to have 20 and kick 2 or 3 because of that work rate will put him in really good positions. So, Leo Lombard, welcome to the side. We'll have a jumper presentation night at the end of the year.
I know you found this in your career, Jimmy, but having a turn of speed like that is quite amazing, isn't it? Like, it puts you, it's such an advantage when you can turn and just put the jets on and it makes up for, I mean, you're all about that, right?
Yeah, well, guys who've got turn of speed spend a lot of time in the physio room. So that's because they've actually got soft tissue injuries, soft tissues that actually get hurt.
You never strained anything, did you?
Well, because I never had a soft tissue here.
Yeah.
I was just shins and like femurs and things like that.
Yeah, true.
You're very good at whatever you did. There's no doubting that. Hey, coming up very shortly, I'm throwing you to the Wolves. Question time from the people out there.
As hard hitting as last week? Jimmy struggled last week. He fumbled his way through an answer that wasn't taken too well by the audience.
Yeah.
Did he get off the fence this week?
I don't know what's coming down the pipe.
Yeah, it's a good one for you. It's a good one for you.
Oh, dear. If you're heading to the footy or just exploring Melbourne, stay at Brady Hotels and Apartments.
Offering great value across 4 CBD locations, all within walking distance of the MCG and Marvel Stadium.
Flinders Street and Hardware Lane feature spacious apartment-style stays, while Central Melbourne and Jones Lane put you right in the heart of the action.
Families and friends can enjoy Melbourne their way. Some head to the footy while others explore the city's best dining, shopping and attractions, all while getting excellent value for their stay.
Brady Hotels and Apartments, the smart, value-packed base for game day and city adventures.
Righto, boys, let's get into this. It is question time from the viewers out there. Hirdy, we're going to hit with you right between the eyes. This is a soft one, to be honest, mate. We are just going easy on you.
Why does he get the half?
Well, I mean, wait till round 15 and who knows what could come out from out there. Are you more proud of your Brownlow or your Norm Smith?
No, Norm Smith for sure. Yeah, the Norm Smith. Look, just winning a premiership is something you're more proud of. So to win the Norm Smith in a winning premiership team was a great day, and it's the Norm Smith was a great accolade, but it's about that team. You'd be the same. When you win a premiership out on the ground with your mates, and that feeling of it's relief as much as anything. The hard work is relief, and there's a lot of satisfaction, a lot of joy that comes afterwards. But the relief of winning that was incredible.
Absolutely. Okay, Jimmy. Influence on your AFL career?
Say that one again, it gives me a bit of time.
Which teammate had the biggest influence on your AFL career? Which one do you still talk to?
One. Picking one, probably Cameron Ling. We went to the same school. I was in Year 7, he was in Year 10, so he actually helped coach the Year 7 football team. And then he was one of the biggest advocates at Geelong to take me in the draft.
Yep.
And he said, look, back him in. And then as a young player, I was very much a cricketer in summer and a footballer in winter, and I didn't do a pre-season until I got to the Geelong Football Club. So I had no idea about training standards and professionalism and how hard you have to work. And he tucked me right under the wing and showed me the way, and I just tried to hang on for dear life and keep up with the big red fire truck.
How hard was that first pre-season?
This is pretty funny. I actually thought I was having a heart attack because I did bench press for the very first time. And later that afternoon, I was sitting on the couch and I went like this, and I rang the club doctor and go, I think I'm having a heart attack. And he goes, you're 17 years of age. He goes, that's your pec muscle working for the first time in its life. So I'd never done a chin-up or a push-up or anything like that because it was cricket season. You got the cricket bag.
Shows the difference now. They're all preparing for the draft.
They got
preparing for the combine.
and
It's very different. But
so picking one, The big pink pig, Cameron Ling.
All right, beautiful. I'm yet to do a bench press, so I'm looking forward to that heart attack moment. For me, could be a bit different. I'm not 17. Quick fire here, boys. Geelong versus Fremantle, GMHBA, twilight game down there. What do we make of this game?
Injuries? Are the Cameron and Dangerfield back? That's a big one for me.
Not sure, but that's important for Cameron.
If they're not back, I'm picking Freo.
Freo played one breathtaking quarter down there off the back of a debutant last year. Murphy Reed, 4 minutes, kicked 4 goals, but somehow Geelong still won by 60 or 70 points.
Yeah, they did.
Still Geelong in Geelong. I think it's a rule we go by in tipping, don't we?
And Freo over here, the wake up early.
Absolutely, mate. That's brilliant. I did the numbers on that. It was pretty good early doors. Then it just sort of fell.
Off.
Tapered off.
I'll
But
lose
that's
you
okay.
some money on that, do I?
Don't worry, we weren't the only one. Let's go to Marvel Stadium. North Melbourne versus Port Adelaide. These are two interesting teams because I think everyone's going to have them not in the top 6, but geez, can Port Adelaide bounce back to 2024 where they won 16 games and finished second?
I don't think they can bounce that far back.
Yeah.
I think they'll still challenge a lot of sides because if you've got Rosie Butters, Horn Francis, I think Willem Drew is grossly underrated. Georgiades is actually a star key forward. So, but if North Melbourne is going to make a step that we're expecting or hoping for others and win that between 7 to 9 games, they've actually got to win these games at home against sides who are probably going to be around the same sort of bracket.
I just feel it's too hard to know with either side. I think that the way that Port are coached, whether they're going to rebound, whether they're not, I don't think they're going to make top 6. But this weekend, and North, I don't think they had a great pre-season. I didn't like the way they won that game against Collingwood, but they didn't really show that they were on fire. So it's almost like a barrier trial, Jules.
Yes,
who knows?
I like that. It's very good. And I don't really watch barrier. It's a good analogy because I don't watch barrier trials because you need to see them under race pressure.
Yes.
So we need to see them playing for the 4 points. So that will be important. Melbourne versus St Kilda. MCG, I don't think the Saints play the MCG well. I only played there 5 times in the last 2 years, and we got a pretty good sample size of that last week where I thought they were poor and went sideways. What do we make of this game? Your ex-teammate, Stephen King.
Yeah, and he will put a lot of energy into that group and play with excitement. We saw in one of their barrier trials, their practice games, that if Pickett kicks it to Pickett, you might be in a bit of trouble.
Because he's in doubt. So
back home.
That would sway the game for me.
Yeah, I think the Saints will be better for the run. Because, look, I still think they did a lot right and there was a bit of connection going on as well. And they just didn't win any ground balls inside forward 50. And I know that's not a sexy stat, but
It's a huge stat.
If you can hit the front and squares and you think the likes of Higgins, that's 2 or 3 extra goals that they probably should have got by just positioning ground ball, winning the ground ball. And then they dropped some marks that, Sharman would normally take most of those. So I think it was just some little fine things that hurt them, and then Collingwood just emphasised it by denying them the footy.
They cost them 5 goals with connection side forward 50, whether it was ground balls or it was drop marks or it was poor kicks. And I think they're going to be, Melbourne won't be as good defensively as Collingwood. They're just not as good defensively. And I think St Kilda, they had 63 entries, so they'll get more entries. They'll be better connected, and they're match hardened, whereas Melbourne aren't. For Stephen King's sake, I'd love to see them have a win. It's first game, but I just think St Kilda will be better prepared. And I don't think Ross tolerates losing that well, Jim. So I think he'll have them wound up again.
He needs to. Last game of the season of the round, Gold Coast versus West Coast, up on the Gold Coast. Quickly, can they score 200 plus?
That's a big call, but if anyone can in any game. Well, look, West Coast, we're not taking them that seriously at the moment, are we? We're just looking at them as a development side, really. And their last practice game, that was hard to watch. So I hope for West Coast's sake they've got a bit more system, a bit more structure. Their senior players come to play, because if they don't, it'll be pretty ugly.
If West Coast get beaten this year, I want them getting beaten where we sit and watch West Coast and we can identify what they're clearly doing. So
what do you think they need to do?
So we put up Richmond's numbers and we did this conversation with North Melbourne where they slowly improved contested footy and clearance. So with West Coast, what are we going to try and hang our hat on? And for Minnie McQualter, what am I going to hold this group accountable? And so then it can be as simple as we're just going to fight every single quarter all the way to the end, and I'm going to hold guys accountable. It doesn't matter whether they play 200 games or 5 games. And with that, it might be a bit of a throwback. We're just going to pack every stoppage because that at least gives us the opportunity to win contested ball and might help us win the tackle count. We might win clearances. That's okay if they get beaten that way, but at least you're starting to build something that's a core value or an aspect of your game, and then eventually add layers on. Because we all admit they're coming from a long way back. They've got some talented young players. but just build on something. Like, because at the moment we could say, well, is it ball movement? Is it defending as a team? We're trying to open the game up. We're trying to close it down. I prefer that they just say, look, for the first 6 or 7 weeks, we're going to bring the wings in. We're going to bring both forwards up. And yes, we might, turn the footy over because we lose our structure, but at least just build on something to start with.
Like that. Going to hear more from you on Sunday morning on the YouTube platform. You're going to have a bit of a chat for 10 minutes, and then we'll all meet again Sunday night, where you can go through every game that we played this round. That was Footy Furnace. Thanks, boys.